And we are live from the Spring Games in Claremont, Florida. Joe Foreman rejoining you alongside Joe Calabrese as the College of Staten Island begins their fourth day here at the Spring Games. They open play here on this Thursday against Salem University. The Tigers and Dolphins go head-to-head on field number 1, Joe, for the first time this week. We're in the Coliseum.
We are in the Coliseum. This is great. And we have Kennedy Ruth on the mound here for the Dolphins.
Get you full lineups shortly. Count 1 ball and 1 strike. Game's leadoff hitter is Katie Anderson, and she hits one hard to second. It gets by the backhanded attempt by Warner and rolls all the way to the fence in right center field. Stalker digs it out, and Anderson is into third base standing with a leadoff triple. Joe, that ball on the ground absolutely scorched by Anderson.
Yes,
no
it
chance
was.
for Warner on the backhand. She made an effort.
She made an effort.
Knock it down.
She looked like that where her glove was positioned. She looked like that ball was going to take a higher hop. It did not. Went right underneath the glove, and that ball was hit so perfectly. Wasn't really hit on the line, Joe, but it was hit so hard that it was even able to split the outfielders and go all the way to the fences here. And I think the fences here are probably, seems like they're the deepest. You know, we don't know what the dimensions are exactly, but it seems very far out there in right center.
That ball rolled a long way before Stalker tracked it down as Bella Ortiz now falls behind 0-2 on a pair of foul balls. Get you full lineup in just a moment. There are some characters missing, so I'm going to have to go slowly. Also, I did not switch sides, Joe, so we need to change that. As that's lined right back through the middle for a base hit. And the Tigers take an early 1-0 lead as Bella Ortiz lines a single into center field just past the glove of Kennedy Ruth.
Yeah, she kind of had to step back a little to avoid getting hit as well. Extended the glove. Seemed like maybe a little less than a foot, and the ball squeezes through, gets by the shortstop and the second baseman. And very early, Joe, 2 quick hits for the Tigers, quick 1-0 lead, nobody out.
If you're Salem, you can't ask for a much better start. 2 batters, 2 base hits, and a run home. Now at the plate, will be Kylie Zinn. Zinn gets the start in right field. 1-2 from Ruth, the sliced foul. Well, Joe, last time we saw Kennedy Ruth, it was against Franklin Pierce on Tuesday, and that game got off to a shaky start. The Dolphins took Ruth out at the start of the 3rd inning after a leadoff extra base hit. We haven't seen her since. It was Marina Grenier who worked 3 straight days to open the week. It looks like they had the wrong count on the scoreboard, Joe. It is now 1-2.
Yes, now it is 1-2. Ruth doing a good job going upstairs a little bit there.
And Ruth misses low with the drop pitch, 2-2. Ortiz, the runner on first, nobody out here in the top half of inning number 1. And that's it on the ground toward the middle. They get the out at second. Balderas throws to first, and that's a 4-6-3 double play.
Great job by Warner first, looking that ball into the glove, realizing she had enough time. Nice little flip to Balderas and a quick turn. And just like that, 2 quick outs for the Tigers with the 1-0 lead, and the Dolphins get 2 quick outs. 2 really, really much needed outs, especially with the way these games have gone so far, Joe. It seems like CSI these first 3 days, they obviously were off yesterday. A lot of those games over the first 3 days, so a lot of scoring from both teams, both CSI and their opponents. The first inning, the second inning. So to kind of limit this at the moment and get those 2 outs is very, very important.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Joe. In the early innings of the games all week, we have seen a lot of runs. And Dolphins hoping that if there are many runs scored in this first inning, that more of those come in the bottom half rather than here in the top half of the first. 1-1 from Ruth Mrs. go 2-1. So very quickly, I'll get you the full lineup. Leading off was Katie Anderson. Behind her, Bella Ortiz, followed by Kylie Zinn. At the plate now, Jasmine Montalui, followed by number 18, Brooke Wise. Number 23, Kylie Cook, as that's fouled away. The count even at 2. Number 10, Kendall Lemley. Number 27, Victoria Castro. And then the flex player behind the plate will be number 22, Kellen Ramey. Two on its way, and that's fouled off. Infield alignment from first to third for the Dolphins. Acosta, Warner, Balderas, Motley. Left to right in the outfield, Smith, Carcano, and Stalker. Behind the plate, Madeline Paul. In the circle, Kennedy Ruth. Comes the 2-2, and again, that's fouled away. After a loud start to the inning with the triple and then the RBI base hit, it looked like Ruth may have to work a bit to get through the first. That double play set her up for a quick inning, but now Montalui has fouled off 3 straight as that's grounded to third, and Motley throws out Montalui to retire the side. So the Tigers will settle for 1 in the road first inning. They lead Staten Island 1-0 when we come back. And we are back for the home half of the first inning from Claremont. Dolphins trail Salem University 1-0 as they will get a look at a left-handed starting pitcher today. Kendall Lemley, left-handed thrower, as Joe's lineup card went flying away in the wind.
Gotta tell you something, it's breezy. I was told the top of the hill was going to be breezier, but seems like the Coliseum, maybe it's just a day though, right?
Well, I'll tell you, Joe, it is far more breezy than it was last time we were here on Tuesday.
Right, absolutely.
That was a windy day.
It was a windy day. Despite the wind, the UV outside is 8, so we're going to get a little sun before the end of this trip.
I don't need any more sun, Joe. I am as red as a tomato. At the plate for the Dolphins, Mariah Carcano.
Great to see Carcano in the lineup.
Yeah, Dolphins really couldn't afford to be without her for too long in the outfield. Obviously, Amanda Stalker did a good job at center in her absence, but Mariah makes such a big difference with her glove out there. And on a day like today, that's really going to matter.
And the infield, look at how far in we are.
And Carcano did attempt to bunt on 3-1, but she came up empty, and the count runs full 3-2.
But even on a 3-2 count, the third baseman and the second baseman are still very much in.
I'm surprised how far in they are at second. Not so much third as Carcano draws the walk. Dolphins have the leadoff batter on here in the first, and very quickly we'll get you the rest of the Dolphins lineup. Leading off, Mariah Carcano, followed by Eileen Balderas, Anissa Acosta, Amanda Stalker, Olivia Wanzer, Bridget Motley, Olivia Warner, Soleil Smith, Madeline Paul, and Kennedy Ruth in the circle. Will not bat. First pitch on its way to Balderas, and she looks to strike.
So the catcher took a step out there, looking to see Carcano back to first, but the first baseman is playing a little more in than you would imagine.
Comes the 0-1. Up and away.
Once again, very interesting infield configuration for Salem here, because the second baseman is playing much closer to first base than to second base. Third baseman playing slightly in, shortstop playing about a natural depth. So there's that space, Joe, from the second baseman to the shortstop, wide open in the middle of the field.
And Balderas fouls that pitch off. And with a hitter like Balderas, who's capable of driving the ball to all fields, I'm surprised to see them leave a gap so large in the middle.
If you're Balderas here, simple contact, straight through, lead that ball up the middle, and you'd be on.
I think the reason for the alignment, Joe, is that's tapped over to the left side. The only play is to first, and they get Balderas as Carcano advances to second. But, Joe, I think the reason for the alignment is respect for Carcano's ability to run. You keep the first baseman close.
Right.
Because obviously Balderas is not going to bunt. And
no.
we'll see if they keep her in here. It looks like they're going to, Joe. TJ is definitely a candidate to hit a line drive that way. We've seen it already this week. First pitch to Acosta is high, ball one.
Let's see if the Dolphins can manufacture a run here. Because it was Balderas drawing the throw just to first base, getting Carcano to second. So we have a runner in scoring position early for the Dolphins.
Good news for CSI, aside from a 2-0 count now in Acosta, is that a base hit just about anywhere should score Carcano.
Sure.
The outfield is not in, so a ball to the outfield would get the job done. Comes the 2-0. That's it for a called strike. Comes the 2-1. Outside.
And that pitch just missed. Very close to the edge of the plate. So good take by Acosta there, getting the count to 3-1 with first base open.
3-1 on its way. And that's it sharply on the ground to the right side. And wouldn't you know it, Joe, they are positioned perfectly.
They are.
2 gone.
Proving us wrong. What do we know? But there are 2 dead, and Carcano is on third. So all Stalker's got to do here, find a hole, make a contact, and get that runner in from third. And this is pretty much a similar scenario that we've seen the Dolphins here through Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. They've had about 4 or 5 at-bats over the course of those 6 games where they've had runners in scoring position, within reason. And they've had good at-bats, but just have not been able to get a couple of those extra runs across. So let's see if that changes here with Stalker at the plate.
Stalker ahead 1-0. Takes a called strike. And looking at the games where the Dolphins haven't scored many runs, particularly the games against Southwest Minnesota State, 4 runs in the 2 games combined, I think the opportunities were certainly there. As Stalker hits one in the air out to center, should be an easy play, and the catch is made in center field to retire the side. So the Dolphins are turned aside in the home first inning. They strand a runner at third following the leadoff walk, and we are through 1 from the spring games. Salem over Staten Island, 1-0. Road second inning just getting underway. Wise at the plate for the Tigers, ahead 1 ball and no strikes. Salem leading Staten Island 1-0 after the first inning, and Dolphins returned aside in the home half of the first. Once again, getting a runner into scoring position with less than 2 outs, but unable to get that runner home. Comes the 1-1 after a 1-0 foul ball, and it's now 2-1. Comes the 2-1. That's up high, ball 3. Pitch in for a called strike. The count now full 3-2.
One thing Kennedy Ruth really struggled with in that Franklin Pierce game early, Joe, was command, control. She allowed a couple of walks. So let's see what she does here on the 3-2.
That's it out to center, tailing away from Carcano, who chases it toward the fence and makes the catch.
Excellent play by Carcano there, drifting back towards that right center field fence. Especially with the wind, not an easy play. And as I mentioned with Ruth there, the other day she got behind in the count a couple times and she allowed a couple walks. That time around it was 3-1. She made a pitch for a strike, and then she got that fly ball. So ball was well hit, a little lucky to stay in. And we have 1 out here, Joe.
1 away, Rhodes second, and the first pitch is chopped to short. Very quickly, there are 2 gone in the inning.
And that's no easy play, Joe. Balderas has to come in about 10 to 15 steps, field that ball cleanly. And she didn't really have any time to let that hop come to her.
Abigail Harkey retired on one pitch before I could even announce her into the game.
There you go.
And it will be left to Kylie Cook with 2 outs in the inning. That's fouled back.
That's right. A little souvenir for the Coliseum folks. First time we're down here all week. Waited till Thursday, but it was well worth the wait, don't you think?
Absolutely. As that's popped up in foul ground, it does land in play off the facing of the Tigers' dugout.
So nice job by Ruth here, making quick work of the first 2 batters. And here we have an 0-2 count, Joe, so let's see if she can put her away.
0-2. Sails up high.
Went up the chute a little bit, went a little too far up the chute.
That rise ball with a bit of extra velocity on it on 0-2. Comes the 1-2. That's hit back toward the circle, off the glove of Ruth and through Balderas.
So do you think Ruth got enough of that ball that kind of redirected it?
I think that's a hit, Joe.
I think that's a hit, too, because I think that was incredibly hard hit, and I think it was just at the right spot.
I think Ruth's got to let it go.
I think Ruth's got to let that go, too, but very similar play in the first inning, and she couldn't quite get her glove on it, and it was hit basically almost the same spot, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Yep. Very similar. Kendall Lemley at the plate now, behind 0-1 with a swing and miss.
Dolphins have banked 2 outs, though, so 2 outs, runner on first.
That last one, a tough break for the Dolphins.
Yeah, because I imagine if Ruth probably doesn't get the tip of the glove on it, maybe a little easier for Balderas to make that play.
Yeah, I think if you ask Eileen, she'll tell you she probably should have made the play anyway. But
right.
That's definitely not routine.
Right.
I don't think it was hit that hard, but it was hit hard enough to get through after Balderas missed it. So it was hit harder than I thought off the bat.
Very hard. Much harder. Hard enough that we're going to give it a single.
Yes. Count 2-1 now. And Lemley takes a strike.
Good job by Ruth so far, using both the top and the bottom of the zones to her advantage. We got a 2-2 count here with Joe with 2 outs in the second inning.
It's fouled off, out of play. Now, I can't exactly see where the fence ends there. It does end with the line of the dugout.
Yes,
so
it does.
double check
And there
that.
is, I would say, slightly more outfield space. Well, I should say space between the chalk and the fences here, where the dugouts are positioned.
That's dribbled on the ground to third. Motley throws to first in time.
Nice use of the changeup there by Ruth.
That will do it for the Tigers in the road second inning. Salem still leads Staten Island 1-0. Dolphins come to bat when we come back. Home second inning from the spring games in Claremont. Dolphins trail 1-0. Entering their second turn at bat as Olivia Wanzer takes up and away for ball 1. That pitch is in for a called strike, 1-1.
Looked like a little bit of a slider, Joe. What do you think?
Tough to throw a slider. I think part of it, Joe, is that the ball is coming in from right to left with the left-handed pitcher, and that's a bit of a different angle that we've seen.
Yes.
Because we have not yet covered a lefty this week.
We have not.
Dolphins do have a notable lefty or two in the conference and the region, so they have seen left-handed pitching in games I've covered before, as the count evens up 2 balls and 2 strikes on Wanzer. Here comes the 2-2. And that's
Nice.
line into right field for a base hit.
Great piece of hitting by Wanzer. Ball was in just a little, that hit to right field, just over the reach of the second baseman. And the Dolphins have the leadoff runner on, Joe.
Once again, good start to the inning for the Dolphins. And they will send Bridget Motley to the plate.
Motley had some good plate appearances on Tuesday. No big hit, but just consistent throughout the two games.
And Motley takes high and outside, ball one.
It's been a point of emphasis here, Joe. From what we've seen in the batter's box, the Dolphins have been actually very, very good.
1-0 inside.
Doing a good job of taking the pitches that they need to take. But again, they have not been able to get those big hits. So we'll see what Motley does here and if that plays out again as this inning goes on.
That's chopped softly to third. Played on the short hop. And that was nicely done there by Brooke Wise as she throws out Motley for out number one.
She had to be a little bit patient there and kind of rush that throw a little bit at the end. But plenty of time to get Motley at first, despite the ball kind of coming in on that slow in-between hop where she had to keep the glove low.
Yeah, at the end of that, with the dribbler going to third, Wise really had to adjust to that ball on the short hop, and it almost popped out of her glove. But once again now, the Dolphins do have a runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs. And this time it's Olivia Warner at the plate, fouling the first pitch back.
Warner had a couple good rips yesterday, Tuesday.
Time flies when you're having fun,
That's
Joe.
right. She just missed a home run as well. Got into it really, really good. I think in the second game. That's a good rip there, but that's tailing foul.
Well foul.
Well foul.
0-2 now on Warner. Comes the 0-2. That's in for a called strike 3. Warner couldn't believe it.
A little bit of our first borderline pitch here, Joe. That looked like it might have been slightly away. Did look letters high. So well-placed pitch there. Gets Warner on the strikeout. And we have 2 dead. 2 out. 2 out. 2 out.
We talked about this, Joe.
2 out. 2 out. Sorry.
Soleil Smith, the batter, takes ball 1.
Sheesh. First I flinched twice and then I do that. Ugh.
Yeah. Soleil's been killing it at the plate this week.
Yes. I see what you did there, Joe.
There's a called strike.
Soleil has been very, very impressive. Every single time she's gotten to the plate, she's made great contact with it. And she, as of right now, is somebody that I think head coach Tracy Garofalo wants to keep in the lineup as much as she possibly can.
Well, she's been killing it at the plate. I've been butchering her name this week, Joe. And no
Yeah,
one corrected me.
It's Soleil, like, Olay!
We know that now.
Right. Hopefully that picks up amongst the girls in the dugout and they give her a nice chant. That's a nice play by the pitcher.
Look what the pitcher found. Lemley had it hit right back at her, made a stab at it, and it wound up in her glove. Smith retired, and once again the Dolphins strand a runner in scoring position here in the home second inning. We are through 2 at the spring game. Salem over Staten Island, 1-0. Third inning getting started from Claremont. Dolphins still trail by a run. Salem 1, Staten Island 0. And Victoria Castro takes outside for ball 1. And they do check over at first base. No swing. Tracy Garofalo can't believe it.
Yeah, she didn't seem too thrilled about that.
There's a called strike.
Kennedy Ruth coming right back in. Firing a strike on the inner half. Can I say firing it?
I don't know, can you? It sounds like you just did.
I need a list of terms that are acceptable that I can kind of...
There's another called strike on the inside corner.
You know why? Because I understand why there are a couple of terms that you really can't say. In the context of a baseball or a softball game, though.
We're dragging the bit on now.
We are.
If you didn't watch earlier in the week, you're out of the loop. As that's bounced to third. Motley across the diamond in time. And one might say that was a bullet to first for Motley.
That's right. Motley doing a good job there of kind of staying back, positioning herself very, very well. I think she's been solid at third base since we've been down here, Joe. What do you think?
Well, Motley is a good defensive third baseman in regards to stopping the ball on the infield,
Right.
playing that short hop, making some tough plays.
She had a difficult play in one of the early games, tight to the line, that really she probably should have made, but she didn't. Outside of that, I think most of the balls hit her way. She's fielded quite nicely.
Well, Motley had some highlight reel plays at third last year, as that's popped up on the infield, and Ruth calls off her first baseman, Acosta, to make the catch.
Good job making that play because she's tailing into the baseline, Joe, and she came very, very close to making contact with the runner. And just like that, 2 outs. So after those first 2 hits, Kennedy Ruth really settling into the game, Joe.
At the plate now, Bella Ortiz. And she bunts down the third base line, well foul. Ortiz came to the plate in the first inning with a runner on third and nobody out, and quickly singled that run home. Right now, that base hit, the difference in the game.
So that bunt draws in the infield just a little bit more. Let's see if she shows again. She does not. And she fouls it off.
That drawn in infield.
Now the count is 0-2.
Memory serves me correctly, the first time that Ortiz came up, she had a 2-strike count, and the Dolphins really didn't move their defense much. That's down and away. In fact, we do have the pitch sequence. I can tell you if that was indeed the case.
Excellent. And thankfully, we have the scoreboard today. That's something that we haven't really had too much of since we've been down here, Joe.
It was an 0-2 count.
Nice job by Ortiz, though. They're fouling that ball straight off. Keeping the at-bat alive.
Count 1-2 on Ortiz. Ruth looks in and delivers. Off-speed pitch, just missed.
I'll tell you something, Joe. It was another one of those close ones.
The infield thought they had it.
I thought they had it, too. That kind of
did
looked
I.
letters high and where she caught that, but regardless, we're not the umpire in this game. 2-2.
Everyone aspires sometimes, as that's dribbled foul.
Off of her foot. Just hobbling. Look, she looks like she fouled it off her foot.
Sure did.
So we'll do it again, Joe. 2-2, 2 outs in the top of the third inning.
Batter fouls the ball off the body. That means it is time to dust off home plate.
Home looked pretty clear, though.
There was no dust to be removed, but
The only dust has been the one in your face.
and on the seats of my car.
Yeah, Nick replied to the Instagram story that I posted. He's wondering why you haven't worn your new sunglasses. Did you purchase them or no?
I did not.
You did not.
I did not.
Made a couple of other stops.
You know, I should have thought about that. As that's it out to left. Smith there, and she makes the catch. Smith hardly had to move, and the side is retired. The Tigers go down 1-2-3 in the road third inning. Dolphins come to bat once again, trailing 1-0. Home third inning from the spring games. Madeline Paul will lead things off for the Dolphins. They trail by a run, and Paul takes a strike. Comes the 0-1. In for a called strike 2. No balls and 2 strikes, the count on the Dolphins catcher. Pitch on its way. Fought off foul. Count still 0-2. Wembley delivers. Chopped on the ground, softly to third. Slow roller from her knees across the diamond. And the throw by Wise was not in time.
And I'll tell you something, Joe. The wind's been blowing to right. That said, that breeze and with the way that ball was hit, the third baseman was coming straight up on the ball and making a play, and she just kind of had to go to her right a little bit. And that little sudden movement of the ball is what allowed Madeline Paul to be able to hustle down the line and chase that out, and that's an infield hit.
And that's bunted foul by Mariah Carcano. Carcano drew a walk her first time up, and Dolphins now have had a base runner in each of the first 3 innings.
Have they had the leadoff? Yeah, the leadoff runner has been on the base, been on first base every single time. I had to think about that for a second.
I was actually thinking about it as well, so you beat me to it. Carcano shows bunt again and drags it foul. It's now 0-2 on Carcano, and we'll see what the Dolphins do here.
Very clearly, with one of your best hitters looking to get that runner from first to second again, put another runner in scoring position. Head coach Tracy Garofalo looking to possibly manufacture a run here, but the count quickly 0-2 on Carcano.
She's showing bunt, pulls it back. There goes the runner, and Paul is out by a mile.
Not entirely sure what the philosophy was there, Joe.
Who covered there, Joe? Short?
It was short.
Yeah, short, because second is in.
Yes, the shortstop covered on that, caught stealing.
Absolutely. It's 1-2 on Carcano now, and she chops that one foul. What just got hit there?
Water bottle.
Water bottle.
Water bottle. Stray water bottle.
I was going to say, did that rogue camera get hit again?
Yeah.
Knocked back into place?
This time around, the rogue camera is actually, is it really lower? We're higher.
We're higher.
Yeah.
It's the same height. We're
right,
higher.
it's the same higher.
I must say, I really appreciate being up higher because much less of a dirt issue here, as Carcano bounces one right back toward the circle and is thrown out by Wise at first. 2 gone.
So let me ask you a question, Joe. She showed bunt on 2 strikes, 2 separate instances in that at bat. Do you think that the injury is still a little bit of a factor and that she can't quite swing the bat the way she wants?
I think if she can't swing the bat, she's not in the lineup.
Right.
Also, you have her playing center field, so if you can't swing a bat, odds are you can't throw the ball either.
Right.
And I don't think that's a chance you take right now with one of your seniors early in the year, one of your captains.
But if she can swing the bat and she's one of her best hitters, then I don't like the decision to bunt there with 2 strikes with a runner on first.
Well, I don't think she was showing bunt with the intention of bunting at a ball. I think, you bunt it foul and strike out. I mean, there's nobody out in the inning, but
I think that's the first real decision I've seen that I've been
I get what you're saying.
over.
I think she expected a ball.
Right. That's fair.
As Balderas lofts one into shallow right field for a base hit. Also, keep in mind, Joe, too, just because a hitter shows bunt in softball, a lot of them will pull it back and swing.
But Carcano's the type who's going to actually try to follow through and lay a bunt down. And I'll tell you something. First and second at this juncture right now with 1 out is a lot different than a runner on first with 2 outs.
No question about it. So Balderas with the 2-out single leaves it to Anissa Acosta, who fouls the first pitch back.
And that was a great swing by Acosta. She straightens that out. That ball's heading for a gap.
Dolphins need a gapper here to tie this game and are looking for at least a base hit to keep the inning going. Comes the 0-1. And that is grounded just foul, wide of the third base bag.
So she was able to get around that, Acosta, but just inside, or just outside the chalk over there at third base.
Oh, and 2 now the count. Pitch on its way. That's outside.
Good layoff there by Acosta. Pitch just outside. Comes the 1-2. And
Bats it out to left center field, and that will find the gap for an extra base hit.
And Balderas is going to be waved home, Joe.
She is headed for the plate, and she is in standing.
We have a tie game, Joe. And let me tell you something. What did I say a couple pitches before? If Acosta was able to turn on one of those, she'd be able to hit it into the gap, and hit it into the left center gap. She sure did.
It's an RBI double for Anissa Acosta, and the Dolphins have drawn even. It's now 1-1.
This is also why I don't like that decision to steal, because if that doesn't happen, we're looking at a 2-1 lead right now.
I'd be curious to know if the intention there was to bunt. A Stalker lines a base hit into left. Acosta will be held at third, but that will allow Stalker to move to second as the throw came home.
Very good alert base running there by Stalker. And the defense really can't do anything about that, because if you start throwing to second, you know, you're looking at a scenario that the Dolphins found themselves in the other day where you're throwing a ball around the infield, you know, and a missed throw, another run will come in. So good job by Stalker there, alertly taking second base. And here we are, Joe, once again. Another second and third scenario for the Dolphins with runners in scoring position and 2 outs.
Just going back to your previous point, Joe, I think I'd be curious to know if they were showing bunt, as that's fouled away by Olivia Wanzer. Were they showing bunt with the intention of making it a more difficult play for the catcher to throw to second, or were they showing bunt with the intention of perhaps laying one down?
In that case with Carcano, I think she was actually trying to lay a bunt down.
Well,
again, very, very curious to see what the strategy was on that particular play. But we have second and third out there, Joe.
And Wanzer takes in the dirt. It gets away. Here comes Acosta, and she is in to score.
That ball did not get too far away from the catcher. However, she couldn't find it at first, and Acosta very alertly hustling down, and we have a 2-1 lead, Joe. First CSI lead since the first inning of the second game on Tuesday.
Officially, that would be scored as a wild pitch. It bounced on the way in. And now Wanzer can make it a 2-run game with a base hit here as she takes a strike on the outside corner. One ball and 2 strikes to count on the Dolphins' designated player. Pitch. Foul back.
It's a good swing by Wanzer. She just got a piece of that. And I'll tell you something, if she doesn't swing at that, the pitch looked like it came in right over the outside of the plate.
It remains 1-2 on Wanzer. Pitch. Hit to third. Another chance for Wise. And she throws out Wanzer to retire the side. So the Dolphins will settle for 2, but CSI has taken the lead. They are now in front of Salem University, 2-1 after 3. Kylie Zinn will lead off for Salem University in the 3rd inning. Make that the 4th. So that's fouled back. Needed to advance our stats. We'll do that quickly. Now we're in the 4th. Owen won the count after a first pitch foul ball. That's chopped toward the middle. Balderas with a tough play makes it and throws to first in time.
So that's the 3rd time she's had to kind of hustle a little bit towards the middle of the infield to make a play like that. The first time she made it, the second time, obviously, Ruth kind of tipped the ball with the glove, and that time she made it again. So she's been really active over there at short and made a couple of really, really nice plays for the Dolphins.
Balderas had to charge that ball while simultaneously moving to her left as that's lined into the glove of a diving Stalker in right field.
Great read on that ball.
Great read.
If she doesn't get that first step initially, that ball's going to drop, Joe.
No question. A great play.
And just like that, the Dolphins have 2 quick outs, Joe. Let's see if Kennedy Ruth can get out of this, make further fast work of this. Top of the 4th inning.
Brooke Wise, the batter, fouls that one back. And on that first play, Balderas had to charge in while simultaneously moving to her left, was able to glove it at the shoestrings, fully extended. And then on that next line drive, you said it, if Stalker doesn't make the right break off the bat, that's down and it's big trouble. As that's grounded to third, Motley fields and throws to first in time.
Nice inning there by the Dolphins. 1, 2, 3.
Quick 1-2-3 inning for Kennedy Ruth, helped in large part by her defense behind her. We head to the home fourth. Dolphins lead it 2-1. Home fourth inning from Claremont. And Bridget Motley takes a strike on the outside corner. That's chopped to second, and it skips up and into right center field. A brutal hop for Cook and Joe. I think that one might go down as a hit. What do you think?
Interesting. I was gonna.
Do you think she should have knocked it down anyway?
Yes. So she's moving to her right, which is
really
naturally it's very difficult. It's a more difficult play for the second baseman to be going right than it is to be going left. And I think in that instance, based on the way that she was positioned, yes, it took a little bit of a difficult hop, but I think she's supposed to make that play, or at the very least keep it in front of her, which is why I'm going to give her the error.
What am I going to do is the question.
That's the question.
We'll
That's the more important question. You're in a tougher spot than I am.
We'll think about it.
Thankfully, I'm here to help you out, pal. What would you do without me?
Give it a single, which is probably what we're going to do, is that's lined down the right field line for an extra base hit. That rolls all the way into the corner, and it should bring home a run. Here comes Motley. She's in to score, and it's an RBI triple for Olivia Warner.
Ice Spice with ice in her veins here at the bottom of the fourth, Joe. Now that's a typical Nick Durst call. Let's call it how it is.
Very much so.
Olivia Warner, though, as about of well-placed of ball as you can get. Down the right field line, just inside the chalk. Based on how hard that ball was hit, it rolled all the way down to the wall, near the pole. And because of that, the Dolphins now lead 3-1, Joe, and we have a runner on third with nobody out.
And the Tigers are going to confer in the circle here. Well, we'll talk about that play a bit more because now it matters.
Does matter.
I think the only way that you can give that an error is if you say she should have knocked it down, because that was a terrible hop. She was in position.
But again, I think she should keep that ball in front of her at the very least. So,
because if she keeps it in front,
you know what I like that when we actually are in dispute sometimes.
If I had video, I'd go back and look at it, but we all know that I don't. So,
do we want to get into that again? I think we're with the latter stages of the week where, you know, for our viewers or listeners, actually. You know, we went through this at the beginning of the week in the complex here. Their deals with Fast Pitch, correct? So the games have been exclusively streaming there. And at the beginning, for those who are following us, you should have been given the code.
Well, I'll put it in the live chat again in just a moment. But I think typically what happens is the codes are emailed to whoever it is that booked their team's trip. I don't think they go on every staff directory and find the SID and email them. Though I have gotten emails from them in the past. Not this year, as that's a letter high strike, and Soleil Smith is quickly behind 0-2. And Joe, if you're Smith here on the topic of the game very quickly, you need to try and put the ball in play here and get this run home.
She's been doing a great job putting the ball in play every single at-bat since she's been down here. The last time she got very unlucky with a ground ball right back to the pitcher.
And she gets tied up on the inner half and goes down swinging.
You know, unfortunately, that was probably, of all of her plate appearances, easily the lesser of them. Very quickly going down 0-2, and she was pretty much a defensive swing there, and she couldn't really do anything about it. So now, a big out there by the Tigers, one away with a runner still on third for the Dolphins.
And now Madeline Paul will be the batter, and she quickly offers at the first pitch and fouls it back. 0-1.
Paul's also had a very solid trip. Been, I would say, good defensively behind the plate.
And Paul fouls that one off. Well, I think if you're the Dolphins here, now leading 3-1, you have a runner on third. There were no outs when Warner got there, obviously. You have to find a way to get that run in.
Yes.
Have to. I actually thought possibly they might pinch run to give yourself the best chance to get the run in.
And the Dolphins bench has no shortage of potential pinch runners as well. So, see what happens here. It's Madeline Paul looking at a 0-2 count.
And she's hit by the pitch.
The one thing that you couldn't, the Tigers didn't want to see there.
Certainly not.
We have a pinch hitter, Joe.
Taryn Judson is going to come to the plate here.
So our first real strategic coaching change for head coach Tracy Garofalo.
I think
Comes with one out here in the bottom of the fourth inning and another important CSI Dolphin.
On the topic of the pinch runner, I think you might be 1 inning early.
1 inning early?
Yeah, I think in the fourth inning, you're a bit more hesitant.
Right.
If this was the 5th or the 6th, I think there's a good chance that
right.
with 1 out, you may pinch run
it's
there.
Still 1 out.
I wouldn't do it with 2 outs, obviously, but with 1 out, I think if that run's still not home and it's a bit later in the game, you may have pinch run there if you're the Dolphins. First pitch to Judson, down and in, and they will let Paul take second base.
Yeah, I kind of think the catcher here wasn't really paying attention to that, and Paul kind of walked in the final third of the way over there.
Look how far in they are. It'd be hard for them to throw to second and cut it off, playing as far in as they are.
Right.
You can't even pretend you're going to cover there.
Yes.
You would have to effectively throw it to a middle infielder who is nowhere near second base.
And it kind of makes sense here for the Tigers why they didn't throw to second because, again, if the throw is online, you have the opportunity. But if the throw is offline, then that would bring in the opportunity to have Warner come in to score. So now the Dolphins have, once again, second and third, Joe.
There's also the question as Judson takes down and in for ball 2. If the Tigers don't view Warner as a threat to make a break for the plate, they could very well try and get the out at second.
Sure.
Not with this alignment defensively, though they are back a bit now.
Now they're back.
They were not on the previous pitch. They were way in. Comes the 2-1, and that's outside for ball 3.
Now let me ask you a question. Green light or no green light?
With Balderas on deck.
Right.
The base is
I think
open.
I would be inclined to take up one pitch here. And that's the conservative.
I don't think if it's a good pitch, I'd let her swing. And that's bounced to short, backhanded there. Throw goes to third, and Paul is out just barely. And I think that may be the only play they had. So
that was the only play they had.
By Ortiz.
Nicely done at short. The throw just beats the runner, sliding into third. But more importantly, Joe, that hit does bring in Warner, and the Dolphins' lead has been extended to 4-1.
Well, I agree with that decision to let her swing the bat there. You don't get many.
And 3 has re-entered the game. So
Mariah Carcano will come back in.
Yes. Strategic at bat there by Taryn. Head coach Tracy Garofalo wants to know what she has with a couple of these hitters on the bench. So now Eileen Balderas. Big opportunity here with 2 outs.
And Balderas takes inside. Now, she is not available, but last year, Natalia Knoth was the first bat off the Dolphins bench in most cases. She is not available to play. So the Dolphins, without her, have turned to Judson, who's gotten quite a few at-bats on this trip as a pinch hitter.
She has.
Got a start as well, I believe.
Yeah, she did get a start. I think she was 2 starts.
2 starts? Count
We'll
now
have to
1-1.
go back and double-check that. I do believe it was 2 starts. I could be wrong, but we know for sure it was at least 1.
Well, we do have a great website with well-kept stats.
CSIDolphins.com. Check it out. For all of the rest of our teams here, CSI Athletics.
Well, I'll tell you right now how many starts she has.
I'll tell you something. The person to my left, Mr. Joseph Foreman, does an excellent job of maintaining that site, does a lot of the write-ups.
A lot of them. I do all of them, Joe.
All of them.
That's it right back to the circle by Balderas, and the throw goes to first with plenty of time. So the Dolphins add 2 more here in the 4th. They now lead it by 3. Our score through 4, Staten Island 4, Salem. And we are back for the top of the 5th inning from Claremont as Kennedy Ruth misses down and in. Abigail Harkey at the plate here, ahead 1-0. Harkey was retired on 1 pitch in her first at-bat. The Tigers now trailing by 3 runs. 9 outs to play with, and Joe, since that first inning, Kennedy Ruth has been rolling.
She has settled into the game, and that's something that she was not able to do in her last appearance against Franklin Pierce.
Count quickly 2-0 now on Harkey.
This is what the Tigers got to keep doing moving forward. Try to work the count in their favor against Ruth.
That's hit to third, under the glove of Motley and into left field. And it gets through Smith, but Smith is able to get to it in time. So, hit hard enough, Joe, or an error?
I would give her an error on that play.
I agree with that one, definitely.
And you know something that was difficult for Motley, because she's done such a great job of basically any ground ball that has been hit to her, even those difficult balls, she's been able to look them into the glove, right? In that case, you know, we have the same vantage point over here. It looked like she kind of lifted her head a little bit. She didn't really see the ball into the glove there.
Yeah.
And that ball was able to get underneath her.
That was on the border of being hit hard enough, but I think you got to make that play.
I think you got to make that play as well. See? Again, what would you do without me?
Well, I'm still on the fence with with the one earlier.
Oh, I thought you were talking about... Is that the response was to what
on the
would
fence
you do without me? You're on the fence still, huh?
Yeah.
Just like a lot of these softballs.
The problem is I can't go back and look at it, which is really difficult.
Imagine we had video.
Imagine. I should just buy the video, Joe. So, the flex, Kellen Ramey was the pinch runner over at first. So I have to input that very quickly, and then Cook flies out to left field on the first pitch, of course, as I'm making a change.
That's to provide context for everybody listening at home. It was a really, really good rip, and Soleil Smith out there, not used to playing left field. This is her first start ever in left. She's made a couple starts in right, but she was able to kind of comfortably get underneath that. So head coach Tracy Garofalo has to be very happy and content with what she's seen with Soleil so far in the corner outfield positions.
It's been a pretty good defensive game for the Dolphins overall.
It has been, yes. Outside of that one play, the first hit of the game for the Tigers, where Warner didn't really kind of get that backhand clean on it, and outside maybe up until that Motley play at third, but it's been very clean.
I'll tell you too, that play early in the game, the ball hit to Warner. That was a rocket.
That was a rocket.
That's
a hit.
That is the difference between a hard hit ball that will never go for an error and the error that was just charged to Motley.
That ball was so hard hit that even though it was basically knee glove high, that ball rolled all the way to the fence. So in that instance, for our listeners, we'll give that a hit. But again, plays where reasonably players are expected to make plays, you know, we'll have to call it like we see it. We have to put it in the stats.
The video,
program as we see it.
The video just makes all the difference when it comes to making a determination on a play like that.
Yeah.
Because you're not necessarily looking at it as intently for a hit-error decision when you're the broadcaster. So, it is what it is.
But let's reset. Dolphins here.
Kendall Lemley has struck out. There are 2 away.
Yes.
And now Victoria Castro is the batter. First pitch foul ball makes it 0-1.
There you go.
And you're all caught up.
We're all caught up. Nice hard reset there.
Once again, Kellen Ramey, the runner over at first base. She was the starting catcher. And the flex player moves to the pinch running slot. Probably will move back to catching.
Presumably. We'll get that official determination the next half inning.
Don't think there's much doubt there. As Castro goes down swinging. And the side is retired.
Is that Kennedy Ruth's first strikeout swinging today?
I believe it is.
Believe it is, right?
I believe it is.
So she's had to dial it up. And in the biggest spot when she needed it, she delivered. So we have a 4-1 lead for the Dolphins here. We approach the home half of the 5th inning.
So with that, we will step off headset, and we will be right back. Once again, our score, the Dolphins 4 and the Tigers. Home 5th inning from the spring games, and a new pitcher comes on for Salem. It will be Francesca Alvaro into the circle now for the Tigers. And they still trail by 3. The Dolphins trailed by a run for the first 2 innings, have scored 2 in the 3rd and 2 in the 4th. They bat here in the 5th, leading 4-1. And Alvaro misses down and in, the count even on Anissa Acosta, 1 ball and 1 strike. Comes the 1-1. And that is low for ball 2. Comes the 2-0. That's high, ball 3. I think I said 2-0. I meant to say 2-1. That scoreboard got me again, Joe.
That's all right. Nobody's perfect.
We try.
We try.
And Acosta can't believe it. She was halfway to first base, but is called back.
It was low and in a little bit, so.
I think it's the way the catcher caught it.
Absolutely. You kind of see why she would think that's a ball, but it's a full count nonetheless.
Payoff pitch. Hit sharply and through the left side for a base hit.
So the second time Acosta today has hit the ball right on the screws. The first time around, the first hit rather was into the left center field gap. That time just to the left of the third baseman, Rocket, and the Dolphins have their leadoff hitter on.
Well, Joe, I said it before, in that 5th, 6th, 7th inning part of the game, that's when you can expect to see pinch runners being utilized, and sure enough, Acosta gets on, and the Dolphins will send a pinch runner into the game. Coming out of the Dolphins dugout to run for Acosta.
Thank you to
is
the
Emma O'Neill.
So O'Neill is on first for Acosta. With Amanda Stalker to the plate here. Nobody out.
And Stalker takes down an in ball 1.
Stalker made a nice play earlier in the game in right field. Sliding to the line.
And that's hit sharply through the left side for a base hit. Dolphins now with the first 2 on. Here in the 5th are threatening to do more damage, already leading by 3.
Consecutive hits, not quite to the same spot, but similar areas, Nick. Last 2 batters in Acosta and Stalker. Wow, how about that? Joe squared. Goes to show you how used to Nick I am. But nonetheless, for the first time, they really had consecutive at-bats where they were able to turn on 2 pitches.
And that's blooped to shallow right and caught there. So on 1 pitch, Olivia Wanzer is retired for the first out. It was actually quite funny when Dave and I first started doing games together. So that had to be, I started about 10 years ago now. So Dave and I probably did our first games together maybe 9 years ago, 8 years ago. And every once in a while, he would call me Mike, referring to the great Mike Babusky,
right,
commentator here at CSI, as Bridget Motley takes a strike.
O'Neill's getting a very big lead off there at second base. She's got to be careful.
Can't leave early.
Cannot leave early.
We saw that the other day. That's fouled straight back, and it's 0-2. Motley at the plate 0 for 2 in this game. And she hits one out to right, but well foul.
So, Nick, as I mentioned previously, Motley had a series of good at-bats, despite the fact that the Dolphins went 0-2 on Tuesday. So, big spot here. You got 2 runners on there. Dolphins looking to try to manufacture another run or 2 to kind of add a couple of insurance runs here. And Motley goes chasing waterfalls, Joe.
Yeah, that pitch was up above her head. And she was just fooled. Alvaro fired up after that strikeout. And there are now 2 gone in the inning for Olivia Warner. Warner has already tripled home a run. And that skips in. Both runners will advance.
Good alert base running by both Dolphins. And, Joe, how many times have we seen this scenario here since we've been down here in Claremont? The Dolphins with second and third with either 1 out or 2 outs.
Yep. They have had a lot of chances with runners on base.
Let's see if Warner can deliver here.
And Warner hits one pretty well out to center, but the ball just not carrying here with the wind.
She got slightly underneath it, and that ball kind of floated out there a little bit. So really good rip again there by Warner. She's had a couple of really good rips here this trip.
That one stays in the ballpark, and we stay 4-1 through 5 innings here from Claremont. The Dolphins lead the Tigers by 3.
Just got underneath that.
Sixth inning here in Claremont. Dolphins lead it 4-1. Kennedy Ruth back to the circle and delivers a ball in the dirt for ball 1 to Katie Anderson. Anderson at the plate in this game, 1 for 2. Top of the order due up here for the Tigers as Anderson takes a strike. Count even at 1. There is action in the Dolphins bullpen as Ruth comes in with the off-speed pitch for a called strike 2. Now Ruth, in her first start here in Claremont, was rolling along through the first 5, came out to start the 6th. And she will get the first out in the 6th here as that's bounced right back to the circle where Ruth knocks it down and throws out Anderson.
Nice job by Ruth in this game, settling into it, using the fastball when she's needed to. She's effectively changed velocity and the tempo on her pitches as she's needed to. Really good job because the Dolphins have needed a stabilizing start after these last couple of games. A 3-0 start, they lost 3 in a row. So the Dolphins are getting everything from Kennedy Ruth and more today, Joe.
They sure are. And if she can get them a complete game here, that really opens up a lot of possibilities for how you want to utilize your pitching staff the last 3 games.
The working idea, though, is, and there is somebody warming up there in the bullpen, trying to figure out. I believe it's Corinne as well, based on that hair. She told me her hair.
Footing.
I see that. She says her hair turns platinum blonde during the warmer weather months, as that is a hit just to the left of Eileen Balderas for a single. So the Tigers have 1 on here, Joe, with 1 out in the top of the 6th.
2-0 base hit for Ortiz against the drawn-in infield gives the Tigers a 1-out base runner. Coming to the plate now, Kylie Zinn.
So the point I was trying to make there as we were determining if that was Corinne or not is that Tracy does want to see what she has with some of her other pitchers before this Claremont trip ends tomorrow. So, 4-1 game, you know, if Kennedy Ruth can kind of
Is
continue.
there a pitcher who hasn't gotten in yet? At all? I don't think so, right?
Well, definitely Corinne hasn't been.
She didn't come in?
She has not been in yet, which is why I think she's also
Okay.
warming up there.
I thought she came in for an out the other day. Who came in and threw one? Oh, it was Grenier.
It was Grenier, yes. Grenier has made 3
threw
appearances.
one pitch and got an out. Yeah.
Right. She's made a start and 2 relief appearances with that 1 save.
There's a called strike 3 to Zinn.
That's a huge at-bat.
She went down quickly there.
Huge strikeout on 3 pitches. So, Kennedy Ruth, as of right now, with that single, with the runner on first base, we have 2 outs. See if Ruth can get out of it.
As our colleague John Venezia likes to say, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. That pitch in the dirt for ball 1. Jasmine Montalui at the plate. She's 0 for 2.
I'd like to have the opportunity to call a game with Johnny.
You may get the chance during baseball or softball if we have 2 events going on at once. Nick and I will take one. You and John can take the other. That pitch misses high. Question is, do we have enough headsets to go around? I can tell you CSI does not.
CSI does not. We're going to have to invest in those ourselves.
Well, I already have 6, so we're good.
Oh, we are good.
We
okay.
are. I have 6.
So why are you making it like I'm going to need to pay for... Actually, I probably should invest in probably...
They will. and I think that's going to come next year with the move to flow. There's going to be a lot of improvements made in terms of camera quality and audio quality, at least in terms of the equipment that belongs to CSI. Obviously, you get the complete package when I come in, including our great equipment.
Absolutely.
There will be upgrades
Nobody
beyond even what I
better.
have. I've said it many times. A lot of the equipment that we have now, CSI's equipment, is equipment that predates my arrival, so over 10 years old. I don't think anyone has made better use of their budget in the long term than we have.
I would concur.
And there's a pitch low in the dirt, ball 4. So Montalui draws the walk, and just like that, the Tigers will get the tying run to the plate.
So that was the first, I think maybe since the first inning. The first instance where Ruth kind of really lost the batter. She went down 3-0 in the count. She was able to get it to 3-1. And then the following pitch was a ball. So no real opportunity in that at bat for her to get the out.
Well, in terms of pitch count, Ruth's still unofficially under 80, and I think that may be accurate.
I'm pretty sure that's accurate too. She's made quick work of a lot of batters today. That was a ball. Yeah, we have a souvenir coming from the other field.
There's a big swing and miss there by Brooke Wise, 1-1.
And she has not really dialed it back and needed the big time velocity on her fastball. So no better time than now, Joe, wouldn't you think?
I have to agree.
She took a little something off of that pitch and looks like it was just low to the outside. So the count is 2-1.
With 2 runners on, this is where you need to get out of this. You don't want to see this inning go any further.
Absolutely not. And I think you need to challenge with fastballs. And there's one.
It's in for a called strike, 2-2.
Like I said, I really think you have to go right at the batter again here. We haven't had too many hits in this game from the Tigers on that fastball. So let's see what Ruth does.
It's fouled off. Count remains 2-2.
Ruth kind of took a glance at the bullpen there. Got a little smile on her face, so let's see what she comes in with here.
That's it pretty well out to right. Stalker giving chase, and it's over her head. It rolls all the way to the fence, and 2 runs will score. It's going to be a 2 RBI triple for Brooke Wise, and the Tigers are back to within a run. It's now 4-3.
Wise was able to turn on the fastball there, and about as well head of a ball as we've seen this entire game, Joe.
Absolutely.
That ball just kept carrying and carrying, and now in that case, it was, for us, bad wind, for them, good wind.
Well, there's no us and them, Joe. We're impartial. That one's fouled off.
Well, we have been approached since we've been down here, given a couple of compliments while in our CSI gear.
They know who we are.
They know exactly who we are.
Especially after we had the camera out, as that's fouled back.
So good job by Ruth here, getting ahead 0-2. Crucial juncture in the game here, Joe.
Huge
tying run on third base, 2 outs. Let's see if Kennedy Ruth can get out of this.
Abigail Harkey behind. No balls and 2 strikes. The pitch from Ruth. Fouled off.
She went up to shoot a little bit, and good job fighting that off.
Count still 0-2. Tying run stands on third for the Tigers. 2 outs here in the 6th. Huge at-bat in this game. Ruth looks in and delivers. Off-speed pitch back to the circle. Ruth's got it, and she throws to first in time to retire the side. So the Dolphins escape the 6th inning with the lead. The Tigers score twice and pull back to within a run. Our score heading to the home 6th. Staten Island 4, Salem 3. And we are back for the home 6th inning. The Dolphins looking for some insurance. Their lead has been cut down to a run. It is now 4-3 Staten Island. CSI will send 8, 9, and 1 to the plate here in the 6th. So Leigh Smith, the batter, behind 0-1, and she takes out of the zone. 1-1. Comes the 1-1. And that's blooped at the shallow right, but that is a foul ball. Count now 1-2. They had to retrieve some extra softballs as we await the 1-2 pitch to Smith. It's a big inning for the Dolphins, Joe. We said it earlier. Dolphins have had their opportunities with runners in scoring position. They've done all right in that regard today.
Yeah, they've been much better today, but there have been a couple of sequences in this game where they could have had another hit, maybe had the opportunity to play another run. I know I keep going back to that, Joe, but that sequence with Mariah Carcano showing bunt and then getting caught and stealing at that juncture of the game, that's a huge play because the run would have crossed.
And Smith pops up on the infield for the first out.
As of right now, it hasn't hurt the Dolphins. They are still up by 1. But a 2 or possibly 3-run cushion would have been a lot more comfortable.
Madeline Paul will be the batter here. She was the base runner who was caught stealing at second. And I think what was baffling about the play in part was because it wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't. And you suggested before that maybe there was a signal here that might have been lost in the shuffle. Certainly possible.
I don't think they signal, though. I think they do call it by number, so there had to be a mix-up, if there was.
Right.
You know, a mistake made somewhere, but it didn't look like it
well,
after the fact.
Thankfully, we are elite investigative journalists, so
Joe will let us know tomorrow.
That's right. We'll get to the bottom of it tonight.
There's a called strike. 1-1 on Paul now. Paul at the plate. 1 for 1. It's hit by a pitch as well, and she pops up on the infield. Catch made at third, 2 away.
We have a pinch hitter.
We do not. It is Mariah Carcano. So Carcano will be the batter here. And she bunts foul. Completely unrelated, Joe, but I realized when I got back to the hotel the other day in the mirror that I had a tan line on the back of my neck.
You do.
Well,
you still do.
It's from the headset, Joe.
Yes. And
There's
I had a line on my wrist, and obviously I can tell you that's my watch.
Yeah, we need to move this headset during the next game. I can't have an isolated white line on the back of my neck as that's bunted to third, and Wise made that play look easy as Carcano is retired to retire the side. So the Dolphins go down 1-2-3 in the 6th. We'll see who comes in to pitch the 7th. It looks like Ruth is going to head back out there, but we will see. Dolphins 3 outs away from their 6th. Top half of the 7th inning from the spring games in Claremont. And Joe, for the second time this week, the Dolphins find themselves in a 4-3 game as they return to the field for the 7th inning.
And for the Tigers, just like the Dolphins in the last half inning, we have 8, 9, and 1.
And that's hit well out to left center field. Carcano ranging to her right, makes the catch on the backhand.
Ball was tailing a little bit away from her. She had to be incredibly quick to make that play, and make that play she did.
And Joe, I think if anyone else is out there in center field on that play,
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that, and you're right.
Triple.
Absolutely, you're right. Carcano is the only one on this team at that position who can make that play. And made that play she did.
It's a good thing she's back healthy.
That's right. Need to see her healthy for the Dolphins.
That's fouled away. At the plate now, Alexis Valverde This is her first at bat of the game. Count even, 1 ball and 1 strike. Comes the 1-1. That's fouled off. 1-2 now. Comes the 1-2. That's up high.
Once again, Kennedy Ruth challenging high with the fastball there. Hasn't gone to that too many times in this game.
Big 2-2 pitch here. And she finds the outside corner for a called strike 3.
Excellent placement on that pitch, Joe.
That is a big-time pitch by Ruth to avoid the full count. She picks up the strikeout looking. And now the Tigers are down to their final out, sending a pinch hitter to the plate.
It is 60, Joe.
That's going to be Carmen Hogan. Hogan, the last hope for Salem here. They led this game 1-0. The Dolphins led it 4-1. It is now 4-3 in the top half of the 7th. 2 outs and the base is empty. Ruth comes set and delivers. And that's hit well out to deep center field. Carcano ranging back, and it lands at the base of the fence. Hogan heading for second, and she is in standing with a first pitch 2-out double.
So the Tigers have a little bit of life here against the Dolphins, Joe.
She nearly tied this game, Joe. That did not miss by much.
That did not miss by much at all. In these last 2 innings, the Tigers have gotten into 2 balls from Kennedy Ruth. Driven 2 hits right to the base of the wall. Have not hit the wall, but come very, very close. A couple of feet from hitting the fences out here in Claremont. The umpire confirming 27 re-enters.
So Castro now the runner at second, and it's back to the top of the order with Katie Anderson coming to the plate. And that's blooped towards second, where Warner makes the catch. A first pitch out ends the ball game as the Dolphins survive to win it 4-3.
Great effort here by the Tigers in the later innings, forcing Kennedy Ruth to work a little harder than she had in the first half of the game. But coming off that start last game, Ruth pitched much more effectively today, much better command, did not allow any of those early walks. CSI did have a couple of opportunities to add some more runs, but as it stands, the 4 runs, Joe, was enough. And they snap a 3-game losing streak to earn their 6th win of the season, 4-3, here against the Salem Tigers.
And the Dolphins in this game, I think, did a lot of things well. Ruth obviously pitched well, as you mentioned. The team did enough with runners on base, but you really have to look at the way CSI played defensively for much of that game as well. They made some really nice plays along the way in this game. Carcano in center and Stalker and right, specifically in the outfield. Then Balderas with that great play at short on the infield. And they did a lot of good things in this game, Joe, and I think it was one of those complete efforts that you like to see from this team, and something that we want to continue to see if you're a fan of the Dolphins moving through the rest of this trip and then coming back home following the conclusion of their time here at the Spring Games.
Head coach Tracy Garofalo walking over to her team. She's got to be very, very happy. The only thing that I think she would have wanted in this game was to maybe see another pitcher, maybe another pitcher in that late game scenario. She had warmed up what looked like to be Corinne. She had 2 pitchers warming out there simultaneously as early as the first or second out in the 6th inning. And Kennedy Ruth was needed to get through the entire game. She did. I think she came in at also under 100 pitches, Joe, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Very close.
Very close.
Very close. I'd have to double check it in a minute. I'm actually wrapping up the game as we speak. So with that, we will wrap up our broadcast as well. This has been Joe Foreman alongside Joe Calabrese on the call for CSI Dolphins Softball. Be sure to stay right here on our YouTube channel. Check out the CSI Softball Spring Games playlist. That is where you will find our stream for the 8th game on this trip as the Dolphins take on Bemidji State University. Coming up next, Dolphins and Beavers on deck, right back here on CSI Sportsnet.